In this lesson, we're going to talk about the choices we have in placing the proximal line on supply zones and the respective advantages and disadvantages of each. Looking at the examples here, notice that the distal line is placed in the exact location on each example. Now, unlike the distal line, which is always at the same point, we have some flexibility with where we place the proximal line. In the first example on the left, the proximal line is drawn at the lowest wick of the base. In the second example, the proximal line is drawn at the bottom of the lowest body in the base. And the third example on the right shows the proximal line drawn at the top of the highest body in the base. As with demand zones, we will use the proximal line as our entry price and the distal line as our trade failure point, which is where we will place our stop losses. The difference between the entry and the stop loss is referred to as trade risk. And again, recall there is a difference between trade risk and capital risk, but for now, just understand that a wider zone with greater trade risk will not increase our capital risk, which we will control through position sizing. Now, in the first example on the left, we have the widest supply zone, and this increases our chance of getting our position filled because the market does not have to move as far to reach our entry. This is to our advantage since it will allow us to get into more trades. However, the disadvantage is that we'll have a greater stop loss and we will have to decrease our position size to avoid exceeding our maximum capital risk. In the third example on the right, we see the proximal and distal lines are very close, and this minimizes our risk by allowing us to take greater position sizes, and it also allows us to make more money as a result if the trade works out. However, the disadvantage is that we will not get into as many trades because the market has to come farther to meet our entry, and we may miss out on a lot of good trades as a result of that. So a good balance between these three examples is to use the preferred method by placing the proximal line at the bottom of the lowest candle body for our supply zone. Now, ultimately, there is no wrong answer with where we choose to place our proximal line. The placement of the proximal line is ultimately going to depend on your personality and your particular trading plan. Before you move on, go back to the supply zone that you identified in lesson 28, and this is going to be where we use the base isolation technique. And make sure that you place your proximal line in the appropriate location for your supply formations. Hope to see you in the next video.